Basic operation, page 7, user manual. Rotate the power and turn the radio on. And how to talk on it, it says hold the radio 2 to 3 inches in front of your face. Don't hold it directly in front of you, hold it to the side. And it works much better. Straight on, it'll sometimes distort. So hold it to the side. And then there's a push to talk button on the, if you're facing the radio and it's facing you, it's on the left side to you. And if you hold in your right hand, your finger sits right on that push to talk button. So just talk normal and make it short and sweet. Don't jabber. You know, when you're talking amongst your pod and that, even with your family too, keep it short because other people may be using that frequency during evacuation. So keep the traffic to a minimum, only what's needed. Now, and if you push that, then you can talk on it, but you have to have the right frequency in the radio in order to communicate. And it says you can't hear anything if you're pushing it. So you have to release the button. It's not like a telephone. You can't talk and listen at the same time on a radio. You have to push it to talk, release it to listen. And the PTT stands for push to talk. That's what PTT stands for. So it's pretty straightforward on it. Okay. Now, to change the channels, and that's what we'll probably do now, is you go to page 9, the user manual. It says press the menu button once. And that's the top center button. Push it once, and it'll come up with a flashing number. Then you use your up and down arrows to either go up or down to the frequency you want to use. So if we all turn to channel 1, and then if you push the push to talk button, then it'll confirm that and lock into channel 1. Then there's a whole bunch of other things in the radio you can do in the menu, but right now that sets it up for talking on channel 1. Listening. And this is during emergency. You'll dock them, you'll keep them in there. If you hear the siren blowing, which we have further down, wailing, you'll go listen to your radio because hopefully we'll have somebody there make an announcement what's going on. And when we're practicing, listen to it. And as we go down in there, we'll be assigned, each pod will be assigned a radio frequency, and we haven't done that yet. But you'll write that on your sheet of paper so you know what frequency you need to go to talk back to your pod leader when you acknowledge our practice with the radios. During an emergency, people always want to know what happened, what's going on, so that we can use that and make an announcement to everybody. The drills, it says a banner will be placed at the sign by Lowbader Park and announce drill nights. You'll tune your radio to channel 6:30, listen for the fire department siren, which will practice doing the siren, and then over the radio there'll be an announcement. And then at that time, you'll change your radio to your pod frequency, and then you'll contact your pod leader and tell them if you heard the announcement to acknowledge it. The pod leaders will then gather that information to find out if they can hear everybody in their pod, because that may be part of the problem. These radios can be affected by a lot of things, like in this building we're in right now, it cancels the sound, the signal. So you might have to step outside to use it. And at your homes, might be the same thing. You might be down in a hole too. You may not be able to get your pod leader, but this is where we need to practice to find out how our radios are working. So if you have a question of your pod leader, that's what we want to do on the practice. Okay, in an emergency, as we said already, keep your radios on. And then when the announcement is made, you'll hear that announcement. And if it's a real emergency, evacuation, we talk about a high-low siren. That'll be a wailing up and down siren for a period of time. And then you'll know that evacuation imminent, but listen to the radio again. Hopefully we can make the announcement that it's happening and which way to go. If you're going to town or you're going towards Bucks Lake, or maybe we can't get out, we're having to go to a specific location in the valley. That's where the announcement would be made. Take a look right above the number 1. You'll see a letter H, M, or L. I don't know what your radio is showing. If it's an L, it means it's low power. Low or high or medium power doesn't affect your reception. That's when you're transmitting. So when you go to your pod number, you want to, that's in your menu. But when you go to the book, there's other things you can do. So go into your user manual, and it talks about changing the other buttons, and that's page 9, I believe it is. And then go through the menu, and it'll have a PWR for power setting. At that point, you push the up and down arrows to get to your different power settings, and then hit your push to talk to lock it to that power setting. And don't put it on privacy codes or any of those type of things, because you can't hear other people. Keep them open, we call it, where there's no priority or privacy codes on these radios. That is my recommendation. On your own little one, when you're evacuating, you can do whatever you want, talking back and forth. But wide open, all it means you hear everybody else chattering. But that may be good, because they may be saying something you need to hear. So if you leave them open, with no priority codes on them. Hopefully that's clear. Read your manuals. You get totally confused, but it's there. And if you have questions, ask your pod leaders, and they can call me, and I might be able to figure it out. Okay. Any questions on these radios?
Here's a question. Should we leave these radios on all the time in the middle of fire season, or just when we know there's an event going on? And then
Well, it's kind of up to you. I don't think it really matters on the radio at this
I'll
time.
probably turn mine on when I know there's an event going on. Or
Yeah.
I see smoke, I might turn it on.
Or if you hear an explosion or something and you get worried, or, thunderstorm, you want to start listening to see if we have lightning strikes, you can turn it on then,
Yeah.
type of thing. But
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
Once they're fully charged,
Yes.
do you leave them on the charging
you
station?
can leave them in the charger without
And then-
harm, but you don't have to. You can take them out. And what I'd recommend, and I tell people this, use them. That's where you learn to get familiar with them. Don't just leave them sitting, put them in the charger. Well, we'll wait for the emergency. And then you start looking at it. Take them, play around with the menus, read the book as much as you can. But look at the different things. There's a lot of features on these. But the simpler we can keep it, the better.